Imagine standing in a dark cave, the air thick with history, the silence broken only by the sound of your own breath. You're not alone, but you're not sure if you're the first to feel this way. In front of you, etched into the rock, are images that have not changed in thousands of years. These are not just pictures. They are the first stories ever told, written in pigment and pigment alone. We don't know exactly what they meant, but we can feel the weight of their meaning. They are the fingerprints of our ancestors, pressed into stone. This is not just art. This is the beginning of storytelling, a language that did not need words to speak across time, across space, and across the soul. And here, in the cold, dark silence, we hear the echo of the first stories ever told. Stories that shaped who we are and who we will become. So what exactly are we talking about? These are not just random drawings on a cave wall. They are the earliest known forms of human storytelling, a way for our ancestors to make sense of the world around them. They depict animals, people, and even abstract symbols, all rendered with a level of detail and intent that suggests a deep connection between the artist and the subject. The act of creating these images was an early form of communication, a shared language that connected individuals, communities, and the natural world. Cave paintings are more than art. They are a window into the mind of our ancestors, revealing how they saw themselves, their environment, and the mysteries of existence. They are the first stories ever told, etched into stone with pigment and purpose, laying the foundation for the human tradition of storytelling itself. These ancient images weren't just art. They were the first attempt to make sense of the world. They told stories of survival, of ritual, of the unknown. And in doing so, they created something we all still rely on, the ability to imagine beyond the present. When we look at these paintings, we're not just looking at the past. We're looking at the origins of how we tell our own stories, how we shape meaning, build identity, and pass on knowledge across generations. Every story we tell today, whether in a book, a film, or conversations, has roots in these early depictions. The power of narrative is not something we invented. It's something we inherited, and it's still shaping who we are. To care about cave paintings is to care about the origins of human creativity. It's to understand that the stories we tell today are part of a long, shared history, rooted in the imagination of our ancestors. So maybe the next time you read a novel or watch a movie, remember where it all began. It started in the dark, with a hand, a brush, and a dream. And that's why you should secretly care about this. From the caves of Lascaux to the cliffs of Altamira, ancient humans painted stories that transcended the moment. These images were not just art. They were the first chapters of our collective imagination. As time passed, these symbols evolved from mere representations into narratives, figures with gestures, animals in motion, and patterns that hinted at meaning beyond the visual. Oral traditions took root, passing knowledge, myths, and warnings through generations. These spoken stories were the foundation of culture, memory, and identity. Eventually, writing emerged as the final step in this evolution, giving stories permanence and allowing them to travel beyond the voice and the moment. From cave walls to parchment, storytelling has always been about connecting across time, space, and experience. It is the thread that weaves our shared human past into the present. Imagine you're standing in a dark cave, holding a torch. The light dances on the walls, and suddenly, you see something. It's not just a picture. It's a story, waiting to be told. That animal isn't just a drawing. It's a memory. Maybe it's a buffalo, or a deer, or a wild horse. It's not just about what they looked like, but what they meant. Before a single brushstroke was made, the cave itself was a blank canvas, waiting for the hands of the artist to bring it to life. The artist would walk through the darkness, their torch casting long shadows, searching for the perfect spot to tell their story. They would pause, take a breath, and then begin. Not with color, but with the first line of their story, carved into the stone. This was not just art. It was the first act of storytelling, where silence was broken by the first mark on the wall. The setup was everything. It was the stage, the frame, the first line in a story that would echo through time. The first step was to create a story, but the second step is to make it stick. That's where the power of repetition comes in. By drawing the same animal, the same figure, again and again, the artist turned fleeting ideas into something enduring. These repeated images weren't just practice. They were a way of embedding the story in the minds of those who saw them. The more you see something, the more it becomes part of your world, part of your memory. But repetition alone isn't enough. The placement of these images matters. They were often carved into the rock in a way that made them feel part of the space itself. The cave wasn't just a canvas. It was a stage, a sacred space for the story to live. The artist used tools made from bone and stone to carve these images, working with the grain of the rock, shaping the surface as if it were clay. Every mark they made was a deliberate act, a way of bringing the story into the world. And yet, the final step is the most mysterious. The story didn't just end when the image was made. It lived in the eyes of those who saw it, in the stories they told, in the traditions they passed down. That's where the real power of storytelling begins. The twist begins when the artist introduces a figure that isn't just part of the scene, but actively engages with it. This figure is not static. It moves, it interacts, it becomes a character in its own right. This is the moment where the image stops being a mere depiction and starts being a narrative. The figure is no longer just an animal or a human. It is acting, making choices, and perhaps even influencing the world around it. This is the birth of intentionality in art. The artist is not just recording life. They are creating a story, a moment of action, a choice, a beginning. This is how storytelling is born from the canvas of the cave wall. This clever twist marks a shift in human consciousness. We are no longer passive observers. We are active participants in our own stories, our own world. And in that moment, the cave becomes more than a shelter or a sanctuary. It becomes a stage, a canvas, a world in its own right. The story is born, and so is the imagination. Beneath the surface of those ancient images, there's a rhythm of energy, a pulse of human curiosity that shaped the first stories. These paintings are not just art. They are records of a mind reaching out, trying to make sense of the world. The colors they used, iron oxides, charcoal, bone black, were not random. They were chosen with care, each hue carrying a weight of meaning, a language of its own, ancient and precise. The placement of these figures, their orientation, the way they face or flee, this is not chance. These are intentional compositions, a kind of early grammar, a visual syntax of meaning. Even the tools they used, brushes made of animal hair, fingers, maybe even the soles of their feet, suggest a tactile, intimate relationship with the medium, a way of imprinting thought into stone. And in all of this, there's something profound, a silent conversation across millennia, between those who painted and those who now stand before their work, trying to understand the story they left behind. Imagine a cave, dark and silent, with a flickering light revealing walls etched with animals. These are not just drawings. They are the first stories ever told, written in pigment and patience. The humans who made these paintings were not just artists. They were storytellers, encoding their world into images that would outlive them and inspire generations to come. These walls were not just a canvas. They were a mirror, reflecting the fears, hopes, and dreams of the first storytellers who dared to imagine beyond the present. In a way, they were the first screenwriters, setting the stage for the stories that would one day be told on stage, screen and page, starting with a single line drawn in red ochre. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. Imagine a world without words. No records, no stories, no way to pass on knowledge. That's how it was for most of human history, until something changed, something profound. It started with a single stroke of a stick on a rock, a mark, a symbol, a way to capture something that once existed. It was a beginning, not just of writing, but of thought itself. These early marks weren't just symbols. They were the first attempt to make the ephemeral permanent, to take something that fades with time and turn it into something that could outlive us. Writing didn't just record history. It shaped it. It gave us the ability to plan, to argue, to build, and to dream beyond the present moment. It was a revolution in thought, and it began with a single stroke. We're talking about something ancient, yet endlessly evolving. The written word is more than letters on a page. It's a vessel for memory, identity, and the human experience itself. Before writing, stories were passed down through oral tradition, fragile and prone to change. Writing gave them permanence, a chance to be preserved across generations. Writing is the bridge between the ephemeral and the eternal. It allows us to capture the fleeting moments of our lives, to leave behind a trace of who we were. But writing is more than just recording. It's shaping thought, building civilizations, and defining what it means to be human. It's a tool, a language, and a legacy. So when we talk about the rise of writing, we're not just talking about history. We're talking about the very foundation of how we understand the world and ourselves. You might think the written word is just ink on paper, but it's the quiet force that shapes how we see the world. Every time you read, you're not just consuming words. You're absorbing the thoughts of those who came before you. Writing is the bridge between generations, the way ideas survive beyond the moment they're spoken. It's how we preserve truth, memory, and even mistakes we make. You might not notice it, but every time you write something down, you're participating in a vast, invisible conversation that spans the globe. It's a conversation that defines who we are as a species. And the more you engage with writing, whether you read, write, or simply think about it, the more you become part of that conversation. You're not just a passive observer. You're a participant in the shaping of reality. Writing began as a way to capture the ephemeral, to fix the fleeting in stone. Early cuneiform pressed into clay, each wedge a mark of power and permanence. As civilizations grew, so did the need to record trade, laws, and beliefs. The scribe became both guardian and gatekeeper of knowledge. The invention of the alphabet was a revolution. It made writing accessible, turning the scribe into a commoner and the word into a tool of the people. With the printing press, the written word escaped the confines of the scriptorium and entered the world, spreading ideas like fire through the ages. Today, the written word is everywhere, in every corner of the world, shaping our thoughts, our politics, and our very understanding of who we are. Imagine you're sitting in a cave, drawing pictures in dirt with a stick. But then, one day, you decide to make it last. You carve symbols into a bone, like a message for someone else to see. It's not just about making marks. It's about sharing thoughts, telling stories, and remembering things. Writing is like building a bridge between your mind and someone else's. Writing is like giving your ideas a home. They don't just disappear. They live on, waiting for someone to find them and say, I get it. Even today, when we write, we're doing the same thing. We're building a bridge, sharing a thought, and giving someone else a chance to understand. So, writing isn't just about letters. It's about connection. It's about making sure your voice is heard even when you're not around. Before a single word is put to paper, there must be a place to hold it. A blank space, a surface, a medium that waits for thought to take shape. This is where the mind meets the page, where intention begins to take form. It is not just a surface, but a promise of what is to come. The tools are ready, the medium is prepared, but the act of writing is not just about the tools, it is about the mind's quiet determination to shape the unknown. This is the threshold, the moment where thought begins to move from the mind and into the world, where the written word is born from silence. It is not just a mark, but the first step in a journey that will carry meaning across time, across distance, and across the minds of those who come after. The written word is not just a collection of symbols. It is a system of rules and relationships. Every letter, every mark, is part of a larger structure that allows meaning to be preserved and passed down. This system relies on a combination of form and context. The same symbol can mean many things, but in the right sequence, it becomes a word. And in the right sentence, it becomes meaning. In many early systems, writing was not separate from speech. It was an extension of it, a way to record what was already being spoken, to make it tangible and permanent. Over time, the written word became a distinct entity. It evolved into something that could be used independently of speech, allowing for the creation of text that could be read without being spoken. This shift marked the beginning of a new kind of knowledge, one that could be stored, shared, and built upon across generations, without the need for a living voice. The third step in this evolution wasn't just about preserving the spoken word. It was about transforming it. Writing allowed ideas to be shaped, refined, and passed down with clarity, even across generations. By giving words a fixed form, writing created a kind of distance between speaker and listener. This distance made ideas more precise, but also more permanent, and that changed how people thought and communicated. Writing made it possible to record not just words, but patterns, measurements, and rules. Things that could be used again and again, shaping the way we build, govern, and understand the world. It was a clever twist, taking something as fluid as speech and making it solid, something as fleeting as a thought, and giving it a form that could outlive the speaker, the listener, and even the world itself. The written word is more than ink on paper. It's a pulse, a rhythm, a hidden energy that hums through time. It's the quiet science of human memory, encoded in symbols that outlive the speakers. Neuroscience tells us that when we read, neural pathways fire like constellations. Each word a star, each sentence a constellation that maps meaning in the brain. The science of writing isn't just about letters. It's about the weight of meaning, the gravity of record keeping, the way symbols can hold entire worlds in their silence. In every script, there is a hidden science of connection, between speaker and scribe, between mind and matter, between past and present. Imagine the written word as a river, carving its path through the bedrock of human thought. It starts small, a trickle of ideas, but over time, it carves canyons of knowledge, shaping the landscape of civilization. The river may seem simple at first, just a stream of symbols, but it carries the weight of history, memory, and meaning. It doesn't just flow, it transforms. Like the river, writing is not just a tool, it's a force of nature, shaping how we think, how we remember, and how we connect across time and space. So, while it may seem dumb to compare writing to a river, it's actually a profound and accurate way to understand its power and its place in the world. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. It was 1440, and in the quiet town of Mainz, a man named Johannes Gutenberg stood over a metal frame. His hand steady, his mind alight with possibility. He had no idea he was about to change the course of human history. The press he built was not just an invention. It was a revolution wrapped in iron and ink. It would take years to build, but once it was done, it would print words faster than ever before. Before this, knowledge was guarded, locked away in monasteries, available only to few. But Gutenberg's press would begin to break that silence, to whisper to the masses. The printing press was not just about printing books. It was about printing ideas. It was about giving people the tools to read, to think, to question, and to believe in something greater than themselves. And so, in a moment of quiet ingenuity, a world was set in motion. One that would eventually turn the tide of history. One word at a time. So what exactly are we talking about? The printing press wasn't just a tool. It was a revolution. It changed how people saw the world, how they shared ideas, and how they made sense of their place in it. Before the press, knowledge was like a locked treasure, owned by a few, copied by hand, and passed down with effort and cost. It was slow, expensive, and rarely shared beyond the elite. The press changed that. It made books cheaper, faster, and more widely available. It allowed ideas to spread like wildfire, breaking the monopoly of the few and giving power to the many. It wasn't just about books. It was about ideas. The press gave people a voice, a way to challenge authority, and a chance to think for themselves. It was the first step toward a world where knowledge belonged to all. You might not think about it, but every time you read a book, you're standing on the shoulders of a revolution. The printing press didn't just spread ideas. It changed the very nature of how we think and what we know. Today's information is just the echo of a past that was once revolutionary. The ability to read, to think, to question. It's a right that was once fought for, and it's still worth defending. When you look at the world today, you're seeing the long-term effects of that shift. Democracy, science, education, they all owe their existence to a simple but seismic change in how we access knowledge. You don't need to be an academic or a historian to care about this. Every time you open a book, you're part of a centuries-old movement that changed what it means to be human. So next time you read, remember that you're participating in something far greater than yourself. A quiet, enduring revolution that shaped the world we live in. The first printed book, the Gutenberg Bible, was a marvel of engineering and ambition. It took years to perfect, but when it finally rolled off the press, it was a turning point for knowledge itself. As the press spread across Europe, it became more than a tool. It was a revolution. Monasteries, once the sole keepers of knowledge, were no longer the gatekeepers of the written word. With each printed page, literacy spread. The press made knowledge more accessible, and in doing so, it changed the very structure of society, the way people thought, and the power of ideas. The press didn't just print words. It printed a future. It allowed ideas to travel faster than ever before, and in doing so, laid the groundwork for the modern world. Imagine you're in a big, old house. You're not allowed to read books because they're for grown-ups. But one day, you find a dusty book on the floor. You open it, and it's like magic. It makes you feel smart. Now, think about a printer. It's like a big, noisy machine that makes copies of books. Before it, only a few people could read. But with it, more people could learn. And that changed everything. When books became easier to make, more people could read. That means more people could learn, question, and share ideas. It's like giving everyone a superpower. The printing press didn't just make books. It made knowledge available to everyone. That's how the world started to change, and how we got to where we are today. Before the first word is inked, the press must be prepared. A heavy wooden frame is laid out, its surface smooth and waiting, like a blank canvas for the written word. The type is arranged in a wooden case, each letter a small, precise block, waiting to be selected and placed in the correct order. The typesetter, with steady hands and a keen eye, begins the delicate task of arranging each letter, one by one, into the correct sequence of words and lines. Each letter is a piece of history, a symbol of language, and a step toward the creation of something that will reach many hands and many minds. Once the form is complete, It is locked into place, a moment of finality before the press begins its work of transformation. The first step was setting the type, but the real magic comes when the press is activated. The press uses mechanical force to transfer ink from the form to the paper, transforming static letters into a tangible, readable form. At the heart of this process is the plane, a curved, rubber-like surface that grips the paper and presses it against the form. This contact is what makes the ink adhere to the paper, creating a sharp and clear print. The press operator must be precise. Too much force, and the paper tears. Too little, and the print is faint. This balance of pressure and timing is a testament to both the technology and the skill of the printer. Once the print is made, the operator carefully removes the paper, revealing the result of their labor. A single, unbroken line of ink, a page of knowledge made real through mechanical ingenuity. Each press turn is a moment of transformation, a bridge between the mind and the material world. It's a quiet revolution, one that changes the course of human thought. The third step is the clever twist, the way the press was designed to make each print identical, without the need for manual copying. This was a revolutionary idea, turning knowledge from a rare luxury into a mass-produced good. This twist wasn't just about efficiency, it was about trust. The public could now rely on each printed page to be the same as the last, ensuring the integrity of the information being shared. It was a subtle but profound shift. No longer did knowledge belong only to the elite. It could now be shared with anyone who could read, regardless of class or status. This twist in the printing process wasn't just mechanical, it was philosophical. It changed how people saw knowledge, transforming it from something sacred and exclusive into something accessible and empowering. The clever twist of the printing press was more than a technical innovation. It was a cultural shift, a moment in history when information began to belong to the people. The printing press wasn't just a machine. It was a revolution in the physics of information. It took ink, paper, and force, and turned them into a system that could replicate thought at scale. The arrangement of type wasn't random. It was a science of order, where each letter was a tiny lever, and the whole page a system of forces and balance. The press operated on a principle of repetition. Each page was a copy of the last, and in that repetition, the world began to change. This was not just the mechanics of printing. It was the mechanics of thought itself. Knowledge, once locked in the mind of a few, was now set free in the hands of many. Imagine a world where only a few people can read, and the rest are kept in the dark. Knowledge is a locked treasure, hidden away from the masses. Then, like a sudden storm breaking through the clouds, the printing press arrives, noisy, loud, and full of promise. It's like a town crier shouting news to the streets, but instead of a single message, it's 1,000 different voices, all saying the same thing. The printing press didn't just spread knowledge, it spread the idea that knowledge belongs to everyone. It's a gloriously dumb but accurate analogy. Knowledge was once locked, then it was copied, and now it's free. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. You open your eyes to a world where memory is no longer just something you carry inside. It's something you can store, share, and even lose. We used to remember by feeling, by story, by the weight of time. Now we remember by data, by code, by the flicker of a pixel. We're building a new kind of memory, one that is fragile, vulnerable, and far more powerful than anything our ancestors ever imagined. And in this strange new frontier of memory, we're forced to ask, what does it mean to remember? And who gets to decide what we keep? This is the story of how we remember, and how we might forget. We're not just talking about storing photos or videos. We're talking about the way we hold on to moments, the way we shape our past, and how that shaping is now being rewritten by technology. Digital memory is more than a collection of files. It's the blueprint of who we are, how we understand our lives, and how we choose to preserve them. This is the quiet revolution of memory. It's not about what we remember, but how we decide to remember it, and what we choose to let go of. We are at the crossroads of human experience and machine logic. Our memories are no longer just in our heads, but in the clouds, the servers, and the algorithms that shape them. And as we move forward, we must ask, who controls what we remember? Who decides what gets preserved and what is left behind? You think you're just scrolling through your phone, but you're actually building a digital archive of your life. Every post, every photo, every comment, it's all part of a story you were writing without knowing it. When you're gone, who will remember what you loved, who you loved, and how you chose to live? The future of memory isn't just about data. It's a legacy, and you're the author. You're not just remembering the past, you're shaping the future of how others remember you. It's a responsibility you've accepted, even if you didn't realize it. The way we remember is changing, and it's changing faster than we can think. It's not just about technology. It's about who we are and how we want to be remembered. This isn't just about data. It's about identity, connection, and the quiet, unspoken contract between you and the future. And you're already part of it. The first memory we store isn't in a device, but in our minds. Etched by firelight, etched by the weight of a moment. We remember by holding it close, by repeating it, by letting it settle in the bones. Then came the book, paper, ink, and the fragile promise of permanence. We wrote to preserve, to pass on, to outlive the moment. But even books fade, and the stories within them can be lost in a storm or a war. The tape recorder, the radio, the phonograph, each was a step toward preserving the intangible. We began to believe that memory could be stored, shared, and passed on with greater clarity. But the medium always outlived the message. Then came the digital age. Bits and bytes, cloud storage, and the illusion of infinite space. We no longer just remember. We archive, catalog, and curate. But in doing so, we risk forgetting what it means to remember. Today, we have more memory than ever, but often at the cost of depth. We store moments, not meaning. We collect data, not wisdom. The question is no longer how to remember, but how to remember well. You know when you forget where you left your toys? Well, imagine if your brain could remember everything, like a super-duper notebook that never gets lost. Now, think about your favorite stories, your birthday, the way your mom smells when she hugs you. Your brain is like a magic box that keeps all those things safe, even when you're not thinking about them. It's like having a super smart friend who never forgets anything, and who can tell you exactly what happened the day you were born, or what you felt when you won your first race. And the best part? That friend is always there, ready to help you remember, even when you're not sure what you're trying to remember. The first step begins with a quiet room, a simple device and a choice. You plug in the machine, not as a tool of magic, but as a bridge between now and something that will outlive you. You sit, not in anticipation, but in reverence. The machine hums softly, like a heartbeat, and your fingers rest on its surface, ready to begin the act of remembering. You speak, not to the machine, but to the moment itself. You name the memory, and in doing so, you give it form. It is not stored, but made real again, as if it had never left. The machine listens, not with circuits, but with intent. It captures not just data, but the texture of the moment, the weight of silence, the warmth of touch, the ache of absence. And then it waits, not for you, but for the world. Because one day, when you are gone, this memory will live again, not in your voice, but in the silence between its echoes. The data is split into fragments, each stored across different servers, like pieces of a puzzle scattered across the globe. When you access it, the system reassembles those fragments, bringing the memory back to life, piece by piece. It's not just about storage. It's about the reconstruction of time, the way we piece together the past from fragments of the present. Each retrieval is a kind of rebirth, a moment of redefinition, where the memory is not just recalled, but re-experienced. The system is designed to remember, but it is also designed to forget. By choice, by necessity, by the nature of memory itself. The clever twist isn't in the data itself, but in how it's framed. It's the way we're taught to look for patterns in the noise, to believe that meaning lies hidden just beneath the surface. We're not just storing memories. We're training ourselves to interpret them. It's a kind of alchemy, turning raw data into something we can believe in, even when it's not entirely real. This framing is what makes the system feel alive. It's not just about remembering. It's about being reminded, about being led to believe that what we see is what we should trust. The clever twist is that we are both the memory and the interpreter. We are the ones who decide what is worth remembering and what is worth forgetting. In the end, the system works not by storing everything, but by guiding us to see what we already know and to believe that what we see is the truth. Beneath the code and the circuits, there is a science of memory that has always been with us. Neuroscience, the study of how the brain encodes and retrieves experience. Neurons fire in patterns, creating a kind of language of memory. Electrochemical signals that weave the past into the present, moment by moment. Digital memory, for all its precision, lacks the organic fluidity of human memory. It does not forget, but it also does not remember with the same depth or nuance. As we merge the two, biological and digital, we may be creating something new, a hybrid form of memory that could redefine what it means to remember. The science is humming. It is not just about storage, but about understanding, about the very nature of consciousness and time. Imagine a library that never closes, where every book is written by someone you've never met, but somehow you feel you've read them all. You walk through it, not sure if you're learning or forgetting, but you feel something inside you shift, like a memory you didn't know you had. You don't need to touch them to remember. You just need to look, and in that moment, everything feels familiar, even if it never was. This library is not a metaphor. It's a glimpse into the future, where memory is not stored, but experienced, not owned, but lived. And in that wonder, we find something strange, a kind of peace in the face of forgetting, in the power of not remembering. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end.